What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we were thinking we'll teach you one of my favorite tricks, how to heel flip. So I'm Ricky Glazer and Jungle Book Manuel Herrera is with me today, and we're going to break down everything you need to know to learn how to heel flip. So first off, let's start with the tricks that you should already know how to do. In skateboarding, there's not really a correct order to learn things, but it definitely will help you to heel flip if you can do these tricks first. So number one, I think rolling around, feeling comfortable on the board. 2, ollie. 3, shove it and pop shove it. So this one is kind of an advanced trick. We want to have like all the basics pretty much down. Frontside 180s, backside 180s, fakie 180s. We'll just wait for the train. You know, sometimes it's a matter of personal preference. I learned kickflips first, then I learned heel flips. But sometimes people do like to learn heel flips first, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whichever one feels more intuitive to you, that's the one you should learn first. What about you, Mowgli? Did you learn kickflips or heel flips first?
I learned kickflip, and then I started immediately trying to heel flip, and I learned heel flip a week later.
Really? That's sick.
Took me 3 months to kickflip.
I don't remember exactly when I learned heel flip, but I think I may have learned switch heel flip before or really shortly after heel flip. Because for me, it just felt more intuitive, like popping
Switch
it like
heel
that.
flip?
Yeah.
So you went from heel flip to switch heel flip.
I mean, I don't remember exactly, but maybe, yeah.
That's crazy.
When I was a little kid, I could switch and nollie heel flip was like one of my tricks that I was like stoked on.
I didn't learn switch until like a year or two later.
Yeah, I feel like there was a really long period of time where I had kickflip and didn't have heel flips though. So it's probably like I was always kickflip, always skating regular, and then I was like, oh, new tricks, and I did like switch heel and heel flip. Okay, so what's going on with the heel flip is basically we're popping the tail, then we're rotating the board over this way. So if we're regular, it's going to rotate, how do we say this, front side? The board is rotating over front side. So if we're regular, left foot forward, the board will be rotating this way. So what we're doing is we're popping the tail, then we're kicking it with our heel. And our heel motion of sliding and hitting off there is what causes it to spin. Whereas when we're doing a kickflip, it's really in the flick of our ankle that is causing it to spin this way. But the heel flip is like the opposite of a kickflip. We're pushing with the bottom of our heel, sliding up, and then it flips this way. So it's a little bit more tedious, because here with our heel, it's a part of our body that we don't have as much control over, whereas the toes, we can really flick them, whereas our heel, we're kind of just using the impact of the heel. So it can take a bit of getting used to, and it can be hard to get it all the way around. I think people will often find it only goes a quarter of the way, half the way, and it's tough to get it all the way around.
Whenever I do heel flip, I think of more of the side, like almost like I'm twisting my ankle, and then I heel. So whenever like I go for it, that I start feeling this right here, and then I use that to kind of make it flip.
Yeah.
And I go diagonal. I know some people that try to just heel flip, but they go straight. That doesn't work for me. It goes like sideways.
Yeah, so what Mowgli is explaining is the motion, it's not just kicking our heel down to the ground and spinning it. It is still this progressive flick upwards, but it does take a little bit of a finesse. That's why we're saying it's kind of a more complicated flip trick, because you really got to flick it in the right way using a part of our body that we don't have that much control over. So the practice steps of learning to heel flip is, firstly, you just want to put your feet on the board and think about where you're going to push your heel and how you're going to get your heel up there. You know, you can do a lot of reps of just getting the muscle memory of pushing your foot up and down. Then what we're going to do is we're going to try to spin the board. So what we can do is pop them and try to flick them and spin them, and let's just land on our front foot on the board and leave our back foot off for now. And let's just really try to get that down, try to get it spinning almost every time we're landing with one foot on the board. Then the next step up from that is we're going to do the same thing but land with our back foot on the board. So we're just going to flip it and then land with our back foot on. Flip it, land with our back foot on, and really try to get those down almost every time. Once we feel very comfortable with those, this is your time, you know, this is the moment where you need to summon all your courage and really like commit to it. So if you've landed a kickflip before or a prop shove before, you do have that feeling of knowing what it's like to really commit to something and really risk jumping back on and feeling like you might be vulnerable to slipping out or falling down. But if you've got that down, you need to summon all that energy and really try to just put both feet on the heel flip. So do a few, land front foot, land back foot, and then just really try one and just try to land both feet on. My tips are often is try to do it in the grass. So if you fall down, it's not such a big deal, and it helps keep you stationary. I think it's better to learn them stationary because rolling, it just adds this other extra element that makes things a little bit more difficult. But I elect for landing tricks stationary, and if you just really try, really commit, and then you can land the heel flip. Try not to land primo, and you got it.
For practicing, back in the day, before I landed it, my friend Odon, he was learning heel flips and I was learning kick flip, and he would always do this like airwalk motion to kind of have that muscle memory without really heel flipping before he landed his first one. So he would just jump up in the air and do that, jump up in the air and do that, and then like eventually that literally stayed in his mind. So when he popped, he heel flipped, because that's what you're doing when you're doing that, like just jumping up in the air and doing that. You're waiting for the board to flip, and he was so conditioned already by this time of him doing that movement that he literally had heel flips down every try after he landed his first one. Like maybe not every try, but he had them at a consistent basis for landing them after his first one, which was very impressive because he already had a mindset and a routine for it before he landed it. Because like I was just trying to kickflip, I wasn't trying to condition myself, have that muscle memory down. I was just right there every day, like for an hour straight, just trying to flick. I didn't know, like I saw him, I was like, oh, he's wasting his time. He's just jumping up in the air and kicking his feet, and he's not even doing a heel flip. He's not even popping the board. And then over here, it took me 3 months to land a kickflip versus him. It took him like much of a lesser time to do the heel flip. And then once I saw that, I was like, okay, now I know what you were doing. He was mentally prepping himself for whenever he did pop, he already knew what to do with his front foot, which was heel flipping, and then bring it back. So you can try that method too. It's a different approach, but it helped because I saw it in real time with a friend, and I would have never thought about that if it wasn't for him. Sometimes I've applied that to new tricks that involve heel flip, but I also tell that to people that are beginning, like you should try to just kind of like airwalk heel flip, because in your mind you're kind of conditioning yourself how it's gonna feel whenever you pop and then have the board. And plus, if you're like, you don't have your skateboard, you can still do that somewhere else, like as you're walking, or if you're waiting somewhere, you could sit down and just kind of like pretend. It's just all about here too. Sometimes it's not about the physical, but more about the mental, and having it mentally down can take you way farther than what you think.
All right guys, so now we're gonna go to the troubleshooting. I find that there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but we're gonna break it down into 3 main things that can go wrong. So the first one we're gonna say is I can't rotate the board all the way. I'm trying as hard as I can, but I can't rotate it all the way. Now my advice for that is, you just really need to think about how your board is gonna hit and how you're gonna flip it. And like what Mowgli's saying is, you wanna get the muscle memory really down so that you can really transfer your power into the board and causing it to flip all the way over. Because it is kind of it is kind of a common one where it goes 2/3 and then you land primo. So what I say to people when they're doing that is really just look at your board, maybe even draw a line on it and be like, I want my foot to go on this path and hit it here. And then just try as hard as you can to go on that path and just give it everything you got. Just like really send it and see if you can get it to flip all the way around. That's the best way to do it, is to just really just try to push it that it will spin all the way around. And then if you keep doing that, eventually you will get it all the way around.
And this one's like really important because it hurts. Sometimes you forget to even flick, or you do it a little too early. You try to flick too early before you even pop, and the board just goes up and you popsicle it. Like, yeah. And that's a very serious thing, because like I think people are, it's not like a kickflip. If it goes on kickflip, you see the board in front of you, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get away from that. But if a heel flip kind of, it starts going behind you because like your legs going that way, or if you're goofing, your legs going in front of you, and that means it just leaves you open and boom, you popsicle. So this is a key thing to think about. You pop, and as you feel your foot sliding, heel it. Like literally go after what Ricky was saying. Go for that line. Don't try to do it early. This leg, well, if you're goofy, that's why I keep saying my right hand. Your right foot, you're always gonna wanna wait a second until you feel your left leg hit the ground with that popping foot. Once you feel that popping foot, then go for that flick. But do not try to flick before you pop, because if that happens, you're gonna popsicle the board, and it's not fun. Like I've literally experienced that a few times with nollie heel flip. That was probably the worst time ever, but that's probably why I have nollie heel flips down too, because I didn't want to ever feel that pain again with that trick, and I made sure to understand that trick. And what I learned from it was always heel after I feel the pop.
Yeah, so exactly right. Mowgli nailed on head. That's what I was gonna say. The second problem is it goes to rocket, but what Mowgli's talked about is if you completely miss it and it gets you in the bad area. But what can happen as well is just in general, your heel flips are just very rocket too. It's a common problem. Like what we're saying, because of the way it's a little bit awkward that you have to flick it, sometimes people, they just always rocket. So my solution to that is, like what Mowgli was saying, it's all in the timing. Solution for the first problem is you got to choose where to kick and kick really hard. Solution for this problem is really work on the timing. Just practice the timing. Don't do it too early. Do it too late, you'll find it might be too much this way. And just really try to get it down that it becomes a nice level heel flip. All right, and now the third and my favorite one is, why can't I commit? I can only get my front foot on, I can only get my back foot on, why can't I commit? My advice that I say to people there is try to do of course, get the first steps down and get in a good position where you have a really good chance to land it. But what I like to tell people to do is, hold on to a fence. If you find a fence with a corner like this, hold on with both hands and then try to heel flip and hold yourself up in the air. You got plenty of time to support yourself, and then you can see what the board's doing and then choose when to land back on, and it really helps build your confidence. Or you can use a fence like this, hold onto the fence and do the heel flips, and again you can hold yourself up a little bit in the air, and then when you're landing back on, you're not going to fall over because you've got this support of the fence. So same as kick flips and heel flips, I really tell people to do that, and then you can work up to the grass and do it in the grass and land it, and then do it rolling, then do it down the big set of stairs, then do it down El Toro, and you got it.
Maybe not El Toro, it's skate stop.
True, down UCL Davis.
UC Davis.
All right guys, so we hope this helped you with heel flips. Like we say in skateboarding, everything is physical, but everything is very mental as well. And this one can be very mental. People sometimes get frustrated with heel flips, but stick with it. We know you got it. You can break through the barriers and keep learning, keep progressing. So we hope this helped you out. There are some videos right there. Subscribe, like, leave a comment below. Let us know what tutorials you want to see us do next. And we want you to learn how to skateboard, and we have everything you need at brailleskateboarding.com.